And a serious side as well to Charles Pellegrin. He's got business today. He's staying in Australia, actually. The government wants to force tech companies to pay for the news articles shared on their platform, Charles.
That's right. The Labour government of Anthony Albanese unveiled a new scheme this Thursday which threatens the operators of social media platforms with a tax unless they strike deals with Australian news publishers to use their articles. Traditional media outlets around the world are struggling to generate revenue as advertising income is being diverted to tech companies. In Australia, it's estimated that 1,000 jobs were lost in the news industry this year. These outlets believe they should be compensated for driving traffic to their platforms with their articles. One study by the University of Canberra showed that in 2024, 49% of Australians used social media to access news, a 4% increase compared to the previous year. And when looking at Gen Z Australians specifically, 60% of them used social media to get their news, up 17% from last year. Communications Minister Michelle Rowland spoke to media defending the scheme.
Well, today's announcement is about backing Australian journalism and supporting the health of our democracy. The news bargaining incentive is critical to ensuring that digital platforms contribute to the sustainability of journalism in Australia.
So what's been the reaction to this, Charles, then on the tech side?
Well, the plan targets social media platforms with revenue of more than $160 million a year. This means the parent companies of Google, Facebook and TikTok would be concerned, while Elon Musk's X would be spared as its domestic revenue is below that threshold. Meta's decision in March not to renew a deal with Australian newsrooms struck in 2021 is actually what prompted the government to unveil this new scheme. A spokesman for the company said that it agreed with the government that the current law is flawed and that it continues to have concerns about charging one industry to subsidize another, adding that the proposal fails to account for the realities of how their platforms work. The California-based company has previously argued that news only makes up a tiny part of its traffic. And in some places, like Canada, it went as far as blocking news content in order to avoid having to pay media companies. This is the Australian government's latest efforts to rein in tech giants after it voted new laws that will ban people under 16 from using social media.
Let's move on. Straight on to the stock markets, in fact. What's the latest?
So we're seeing a higher open on the major bourses this Thursday in Europe. As you can see there, investors awaiting the last monetary policy decision of the year from the European Central Bank later this Thursday. Economists expecting a 25 basis point cut. And in Asia, the major bourses trading higher as well on the back of Wall Street gains, with the Nasdaq reaching record highs at the close on Wednesday. This followed the release of the U.S. November inflation report, which was in line with expectations, thereby comforting the idea of a rate cut by the Federal Reserve at its next meeting next week. In South Korea, investors dismissing the political turmoil there, as President Yoon Suk-yeol said he had no intention to resign after briefly declaring martial law last week. As you can see, the Kospi closing over 1.5% higher.
Now to the authorities in India now. 2 Indian states are drafting tighter workplace rules and inspections to protect white-collar employees.
These are the states of Maharashtra and Karnataka, key drivers of India's economic growth. They are revising current labor laws following the death of a young executive at global consultancy EY. The death of Anna Sebastian Perayil was blamed on work-related stress. Morgan Eyre has this.
Overworked, stressed and burnt out. That's how many employees in India's white-collar jobs are feeling. The pressure and unrelenting work schedules are leading to a slew of mental and physical health problems. Anna Sebastian Perayil was an audit executive at Ernst & Young when she collapsed at home and died of a cardiac arrest at just 26. Her family say she faced back-breaking work. According to the International Labour Organization, Indian employees log more hours than many other countries. Some say it's not just about the time worked.
When we talk about workplace stress, it is just not because of one reason. It can be because the employee in appraisal did not get the appropriate hike or the appropriate appraisal ratings. Apart from that, if the person is forced to work beyond the working hours, that also contributes to the stress.
Perel's death has prompted a nationwide conversation and proposed changes in labour laws. There are already rules around overtime, but these are often flouted. Workplace protections have been geared largely towards blue-collar workers. Experts say companies sometimes don't abide by their own rules.
Most of the corporates, the large one, even the mid one, they have best of the HR policies on paper. But the implementation part is somewhere lacking. And somewhere the senior management has to understand the well-being of the employee and take concrete action because it flows from the top.
Labour authorities in 2 states say they are stepping up scrutiny of office practices. These include new laws to regulate hiring and layoff practices at firms. In Bengaluru, India's Silicon Valley, authorities have made inspections more frequent to verify legal compliance of overtime rules and maintenance of time logs.
Back to you, Stuart.
Thank you very much. Charles Pellegrin with the business news on France